Hello everyone, my name is Tyler Selhorn and welcome to another episode of The Remote Show, where we discuss everything to do with remote work with the people who know it best. Thanks so much for listening. The Remote Show is brought to you by We Work Remotely, the largest community of remote workers in the world. With over 220,000 unique users per month, We Work Remotely is the most effective way to hire. Today we are blessed to be learning out loud with Amy Lynch. Over the past decade, Amy has negotiated remote work arrangements, freelance client work, and validated business ideas in between living and working in Canada, Europe, and Australia, and having 3 kids. Amy's flexible work movement, Mixing Babies in Business, is focused on inclusion and belonging for primary caregivers and their children. In between moving countries, Amy has been writing and speaking about travel, international family life, creativity, and flexible work since 2010. Amy is the author of Startup Blogging, about validating a business idea and building your audience. She will be releasing a forthcoming book titled Mixing Babies in Business, summarizing all of Amy's thought leadership from her experiences bringing her kids into business settings. Amy speaks, writes, and advises on flexible and remote work with kids, creating a parent-friendly business culture, and designing events, retreats, and experiences for your company's people and their families. Amy, welcome to the Remote Show. Tell us, how's your family? How's everybody doing?
Hi, Tyler. Thanks for having me. They are good. The oldest 2 are at school right now. So I have 3 kids, 3 boys, all under the age of 10. So the 2 oldest ones are turning 5 and 7 this summer. And the toddler is not quite a year and a half yet. So I'm in the full-on parenting season of my life, I've been told, where you're physically exhausted and possibly a bit emotionally drained, but not there yet in terms of, the mental and emotional exhaustion that I've been told is in the future. But right now, physically I am good right now, but often running between things, so to catch my breath.
I know those feelings intimately as a parent of 4. All school age now, so very fortunate to have an opportunity to recharge my batteries and get work done while they are away. But you've been thinking and building a business and thought leadership and writing and speaking about these ideas of mixing babies in business. I mean, it's such an interesting kind of even just construction, and it's so cool to hear that you've been really intensely, I'm thinking of the picture of you speaking at an event, a local event with your child. It's on your website. Tell us more about this idea that we can put these 2 things that naturally seem, or maybe it isn't so natural. I guess, how do we put these things together that don't necessarily have traditionally gone together?
Yeah, so when I became a parent, I was working remotely for a company based in Australia that I've been working with there. And I was working remotely from Europe. I was their only remote contractor. And so I was used to doing things on my own, working in a 10 hours time difference from them. I would often only connect with them once a week. So I got really good at going to events by myself, networking. And when I was expecting my first son, I applied to a Google program called Campus for Moms. So it's a Google Startups program that only runs normally in Israel and Tel Aviv and in London. And I believe it's stopped being run in Europe right now. But when he was not even 2 weeks old, I had just finished a night feed with him. I did the application. Everything great that has come from my life has been done in probably 30 minutes or less of me not really thinking too hard about it and just going for an opportunity. So I did the opportunity application, didn't know if I'd get in, but within a few weeks was accepted. And what they did was they created, it was kind of like a mastermind for parents. So there was 35 leaders from across the UK that came together once a week over 10 weeks in London. And the idea of the program was you'd be learning about validating your business idea, intellectual property, marketing and sales, positioning, product market fit, legal implications, all in a child-friendly environment. So they had some change tables from IKEA that they'd got, set them up on a boardroom table at the back. You were welcome to feed your child, bring your child with you, have them run around, play. And what I found interesting was about half of the parents didn't bring their children because they were either in preschool already or school. And I was one of the newest moms. So my son was 7 weeks. I just had my 6-week postpartum well baby visit. And I brought him on the tube as a test run when my mom was visiting with my laptop in the bottom and everything, just to see could I navigate this by myself. And then I brought him every week over the next 4 months for the program. And I got used to holding him while pitching, doing workshops with him. People would offer to hold him for me or cut up my food. And from there, I just kept doing those things, not really knowing any different and not really knowing that I might have been a bit weird or in a niche environment, I guess, because that's all what I knew. And I knew that if I was a freelancer and wanted to continue to work remotely, I needed to put myself out there. And when my son turned 7 months, we relocated to Canada. So it kind of all started again. And the environments of networking changed, but the problems remain the same. And that's kind of where my platform developed from.
Shout out to the weirdos that have embraced their niche,
Yes.
right? I'm somebody who, is from not Tech Hub USA, right? And, my previous career was really optimized for who I was before I was a professional, right? I was a school teacher because, having school holidays is the same as my children, right? Was really important to me because I wanted to be a spouse and a parent and a youth sports coach, right? All before, I was a professional. And I'm hearing some echoes of that for you, Amy. You're saying, okay, this might be weird, but I don't care. This is who I am, right? I'm not necessarily gonna even tip my cap to a previous mode of operation. This is what I'm doing. I guess maybe that's what I'm curious to hear more about. Like when you say I'm going to bring my baby to work, right? Tell us more about what that's like and like what is the experience of doing that? Because I think that's something that we've had a little bit of experience here, like most people doing the like, hey, here's my kids on Zoom, right? But like that's a different vibe than what you're talking about. Tell us more.
Yeah, and I mean we have a bit more in common too, Tyler, because I was working in the education and training sector in Australia, and then once I moved, so I was used to changing industries and learning as I went along, and I guess I was kind of spoiled growing up in that I grew up on a farm. My parents were always around. They were entrepreneurs, but in a different way than being in a corporate business environment. And my husband is also from another country. So I knew when I was living overseas that the easiest way for us to live and work alongside each other was if I could be a remote worker or a freelancer, and we'd be able to like move around and work around our family. So that was already kind of in my mind that was my values. That's what I was looking for. I became more aware to different opportunities. And in terms of bringing my kids into business settings, there's been variation of me telling the person in advance and me just showing up, or me being in a program that is designed to be more accessible and inclusive, like Campus for Moms. And then me just trying to be a woman in entrepreneurship in an environment where they say they want to support you, but they don't provide any accommodations for people who are new parents or postpartum, or maybe have preschool age kids that are not able to get a space at a daycare. So I just showed up as I was in a lot of situations, but in terms of opportunities that came to me, I brought my son to a job interview. When we first moved, he was about 15 months old, and they had a mat leave cover contract. I put myself out there, thought, okay, this might be a good bridging opportunity when we're here. Just newly arrived here, getting settled, but I didn't have a daycare space yet. So I asked, could I bring him to the job interview? And they were a bit taken aback, but they said, okay, sure, we'll just rent a boardroom or book a boardroom in our building space. And thanks for letting me know. But then that required a lot of positive self-talk, logistical planning, mapping out the route in advance. A lot of the things that I have a mini guide where I share tips for parents who want to navigate corporate settings with kids, the corporate jungle with kids. And a lot of it is advanced preparation, but trying to suit things to your child's need. And at the start, when I was doing all this, I thought, okay, maybe it's just my parenting style, or maybe it's just my son. Maybe he's really chilled out. Maybe this will be different with the second child. So then I tried it with him. And then I tried it with both of them together. And then most recently, I've tried it with my youngest toddler. And I think when I came across you with the Running Remote community, that was kind of okay, I've tested this out a few times. I know how to present with kids. I know how to present on stage while baby wearing. And it was like a bit of a breeze because he was 4 months old and was asleep. Much different than watching a toddler run around and trying to make sure they don't pull out the AV equipment or have a complete meltdown in a theater of 100 plus people. So Yeah.
If you're a parent, you've felt that moment when the child becomes mobile.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
And the darting of the eyes. So I usually say yes to opportunities that are under 30 minutes. And if I'm meeting with someone one-on-one, I always say that talking with someone is harder than talking to someone. So when I've presented to an audience, some people have thought, wow, that's a lot, that's very full on. But I've always found speaking at is easier than speaking with. If you've ever tried to make an important phone call while your kids are at home, whether it's a doctor's appointment, a friend, or something crucial, they will do whatever they can to distract you and create noise in the background. So same goes for remote work with kids at home. That's why I always, promote the asynchronous work for parents, because it is the path of least resistance when you have children at home that don't understand what silence means really, or need attention on 15 to 30 minute increments in terms of their attention span or the routines that are changing at that age.
Yeah, shout out to all the other parents. Just full disclosure, I have school-age children, so that after-school period of time, I really try to keep clear of meetings with another person, as you describe, right? Being the only adult in the house is definitely a phrase I've used to people that I'm having a meeting with during those moments when I'm the only, snow days, etc. Those are moments where I'm very fortunate to have children that are well behaved and will do as expected, but like as you say, like there's a time limit to that kind of request, because children are busy. Children are require caregiving, and I think that's maybe what I want to ask you next about, Amy, is like when you're advising companies and you are even like thinking about how you're even showing up for yourself and your family. Like, what are the things that need to be on our mind? You said you've got a guide for parents, navigating the jungle. I guess maybe I'm curious to like, how can we clear away some of that brush as companies, so that there isn't so much to ask of our primary caregivers and parents, when they show up to be guided through the underbrush, as it were.
Yeah, and I just want to say that even though I've been speaking about this for a while, I still get pushback, or it's almost like you're always swimming against the tide. For example, I was asked to speak at a Mothers in Tech event recently that is going to be hosted during the witching hour you just described, between 4 and 7 p.m., which is just like, I provided a quote. I said, okay, I can be open to it. I'll need to have childcare accommodations because it's going to be a virtual opportunity. But my immediate reaction is, why is it after 4 p.m.? School ends at 3:30 where I live. For teenagers, for some reason, it ends earlier. But you say you want this inclusive experience. Have you considered, so for corporations or event planners or individuals trying to create accessible, inclusive experiences for parents, I ask them to look at the timing, the location. Is it an accessible location? Is it easy to get to? Trying to travel with young kids and find parking that you can actually get a stroller out of or a car seat out of. If they're newborn, they have to lug that across the, possibly fields of parking spaces. In Canada, it gets -20 here. Where is your event location? If it's hybrid or virtual, you can possibly reach more people, but is it live stream only, or are you allowing a recording? Because those opportunities enable parents to participate in a totally different way. For example, I was accepted into an angel investing preparation session in California at the start of the pandemic that I never would have gotten into, or if I did get into it, I wouldn't have been able to attend because I wouldn't have wanted to fly to sessions, but I was able to participate remotely. So what things can you open up to different audiences or delegates or clients or your employees, your ones that you want to treat like customers and you want to accommodate, that will make it easier for them and easier for them to say yes. And you've mentioned your children are well behaved, but it's, not every day is like that. Kids get sick. There's different things that happen. And it's one thing to expect the parents to have well-behaved children, but it's another thing to create a routine or expectations around things that don't force them to compromise their child's needs over your company's objectives, really.
Yeah, I mentioned them being well-behaved just because I want to shout out
yeah, that's
children
great
for
that
being
they are
accommodating of me as their parent who happens to be a working parent, right? Listening to hear you say like choosing appropriate timing, choosing appropriate location, thinking about parking, right? We have an enormous conversion van. We have a family of 6, and we cannot drive it into a parking garage because it has a raised roof that will hit parking garages. So like
I drove one of those when we were in Ireland.
Yeah.
I know, and it's like you want to go places, you don't realize that I have to street park, but you can't really easily street park.
Surface parking is at a premium. And if you want me to appear at your event, right, and also like have a family involved, like those are things that we haven't really included. And I guess maybe that's the thing that I'd be encouraging you to tell us more about is like, how do we expand our mindset to have an inclusive idea about including caregivers, including parents, including children in those business settings? Like, what does that look like? How can we even like expand our minds to include those, like all kinds of people, and maybe even like think about what are the benefits to saying, you know what, children exist. Yeah. And they're a part of our business.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have a background in events and marketing. So I think like an event planner sometimes from a perspective of those are surface level considerations, logistical things that when you're booking a venue a year out for a conference or you're trying to secure sponsors, you usually don't do it 2 weeks prior. So the other thing I come up against a lot is people as a last minute exercise trying to go, oh yeah, we want to be inclusive for our parents. But these discussions need to happen at the logistics level. So you're looking at surface level considerations, which are the AV tech requirements, like I just mentioned. Is it live streamed, recorded? The physical venue, is it accessible? Can you get a stroller in? Can it be taken, can you take public transit? Do you have parking? But then also the physical space. So that's getting people to say, yes, I'm going to come. Then when they're inside the building or inside the experience that you're trying to create, yes, I've decided to dedicate my time and energy to being here, but am I going to enjoy myself? Is this going to be worth the trade-off for me? Because I talk from a parent's perspective, I talk about planning things out, asking for accommodations if you need them. But from an event planner or corporate leader point of view, you're going to be thinking, is there a quiet zone? Is there a safe space for parents to nurse or feed their children? Are the foods, is it a charcuterie spread? Because a lot of kids, sometimes they like that, sometimes they don't. But have you made any considerations? It doesn't have to be expensive. If people are bringing their kids, have you got any food choices for them or meal choices for them? In terms of making it even easier to say yes, have you offered pop-up childcare? Have you explored the opportunity of having childcare on site, especially if it's after 4 p.m. and you're requiring people to attend, or it's serving that demographic of people that are have unmet needs? You want to attract more women, for example, or talent who are underrepresented in your company, then make it easy for them to say yes. Take that off of their shoulders to find that accommodation for themselves and offer it, or at least survey your audience to see, is it something that would help them attend more easily? So it's like multi-layered approach of things.
Okay, just to timestamp our conversation, yeah. Amy, I recently flew back from Portugal for Running Remote 2023, and it was a fantastic event. My children did not come with me, right? And I think that's one of the things that is going to be a part of, remote considerations in general. Like, I really think of Running Remote as a retreat for the remote working advocacy community, right? And I think that's something that's I'm curious to hear more about from you. Is you've mentioned events, right? But what about those companies that are primarily distributed and flexible arrangements and fit families, right? Like fit caregivers that are dealing with their home situations as well as working right from those homes. But we do have those in-person components to those kinds of companies. What do you say to those companies that are looking to have an event that includes families or permits families to say, you know what, I'm going to take a workation around this retreat and bring my family with me, and I'm going to be a part of this experience of me being a professional that works in a globally distributed company? Like, how do we do that well?
To them, I would say good luck and Godspeed, because there is not a lot of stuff existing right now to help you, but we're at least more aware of what that might look like. So I am excited that there's remote leaders in the running remote community who are thinking about these things. But I think what's happened is people who've joined companies or created companies, as they've become parents or as they've employed people who have become parents, you start to become more aware of what that might look like or what people might need. And so when I came to the conference last year in Montreal, it wasn't in a child-friendly venue, but I was welcome when I was there. They made extra efforts to accommodate me. And, it doesn't even have to be about choosing a different venue because your employees want to bring their kids. It's just having the conversation and being a good human, really, being welcoming and making people not feel like they're an alien or weird for showing up with their baby or their young children. And I'm really encouraged to see a lot of the co-living leaders and co-working space leaders. And I'm excited. I'm speaking to a couple this week for my podcast that have decided to start offering like unschooling experiences or learning opportunities. And with your education background, you can probably see how some of these things are aligned with, it doesn't have to be a compromise of values. It can be an education for the children alongside enabling the parents to participate. And for those parents who don't want to bring their children, because there are people who take remote jobs because there are offsites X number of times a year or maybe once a year, and they don't want to bring their children. It's looking at your benefits that you provide as a company leader. And is it flexible? Like if you're offering pet care as a benefit, do you offer childcare stipends? Or I've mentioned something weird like snow removal, for example. If you're leaving a spouse at home, if you have a partnership relationship and one person is looking after the kids at home and you live somewhere like where I'm living right now, Canada, or anywhere in the States that has significant snowfall, that falls on that person. So like what's the extra unpaid labor or mental load that is created by enabling or by forcing someone or requiring someone to attend on site? And that'll look different depending on, does your employee have a newborn? Does your employee have a child that's sick? Is the other partner in the relationship, if they are in a relationship, have medical needs? There's a lot of different considerations where you would probably change your policies and not require them to attend, and you would come up with a hybrid or virtual option to suit them. So there's many different approaches, and I feel like it's a really exciting time in this space because there's going to be so many ideas and experiences that are tested out as a result of these needs. And it's also an opportunity for you to shape the culture at your company.
Amy, thank you so much for helping us to remember those that are left behind. When a working parent, travels for work, I think it's, I just want to express gratitude right now to my spouse, my in-laws, my parents, the assistant coaches that coach the Little League team that I am the manager for, like when I was away, right? Those people, as you mentioned, like there was extra work for them because I was away. And I think that's so if you're a company leader trying to think of, okay, how can I engage this person who is contributing to our bottom line, and how can I honor them with their sacrifice and the trade-offs that they've made to be present at this event that is outside of their home? I think it's so key to be able to say, oh, thank you very much to those people that enabled that to happen without there being untaken care of responsibilities back at home. I think that's so key. I also just want to call out the part where you mentioned the interesting experiences and educational opportunities for children of remote workers. I know for myself, the world has expanded to me, right? Like I've traveled to Berlin and to Portugal and to Mexico and to all kinds of places on business, and also like virtually, over the international date line. I've fast forwarded to tomorrow, like you talked about with your Australian opportunities. I think it's so cool that we are giving children that are a part of families and remote working parents that they get a chance to think of the world as a place that has people that work from it that are somewhere else, right? And I know that my children are much more aware of the world and the people that work in it because I work primarily from my home. I guess maybe the thing that I'd want to just kind of give us a chance to close with here is just to give us a zoomed out view, right, of where we might be headed next. It's 2023. We'll timestamp this conversation. When you think about what's happening in the rest of this year or next year or years to follow, when you think about mixing babies in business, what's coming? How are we going to get better?
So I saw Darren Murph post about something after the conference about, things returning to local communities. And I've always believed this in my travels and living in different places. I've always tried to connect to the local areas, and having a family where we're both from different places, you try to incorporate your cultures or different things locally as you can. But I think what is amazing about remote work is it does enable you to have rural regeneration, or these hubs around the world where there can be co-living and co-working. And like you said, the support that's behind you, the community support, the possible family support, what is your local village look like, and where are you creating it, and how does it feed you, but also how do you feed it back because of the opportunities and the workforce participation that you've been enabled to pursue. And I feel like I'm seeing a lot more fractional opportunities popping up, or people labeling themselves as fractional, because there's not just a one size fits all model. When I was doing remote work, it was very much, I'm freelancing, I am working from wherever. I had done things as a side hustle before that, but I was a full-time on-site employee, but doing freelance across time zones again. And to me, that was just a no-brainer if you could do a service-based opportunity. And so I think that if you want to be your own boss, you want to do things as a contractor, that exists. If you want to be an employee with a company, that exists. If you want to work with a company that says they're inclusive but requires you on site, that exists as well. So it's up to you to decide what's based on your personality, what environment suits you best. And then based on your family and their requirements, depending on their ages. I know my kids won't want to hang out with me all the time. And maybe a unschooling experience won't be ideal past a certain age. But while you do have young children, I think that there will be people pushing for these different opportunities and choosing their own adventure, really, of what works best for them and their family. And it all ties back to my belief that everyone deserves to design a life that works for them and their family, and it's an individual choice. So I believe that the individual will, the future of remote work will be shaped by the individuals and how far they want to push that themselves.
Amy, thank you so much for reminding us that one size fits one.
Yeah.
And that the future of work is an opportunity for us to re-engage with local communities, even designing where it is that we're going to choose to reside based upon the things that we want to make happen in our lives and in our families. I just thank you so much for being here with us today and learning out loud. We appreciate you, and we're looking forward to continuing to mix babies in business with your thought leadership and understanding how to do it best.
Thank you so much, Tyler.